I should replace that. That part is
What about the power? No, that'd be awesome. Jake says he's in. Okay.
Hello?
Word.
Oh. What's up? We can do what?
We got to watch our mouths, you know. Oh, okay. I'm kidding. Candy's already cutting into me. She's already editing me. Oh, just don't. She said, "Don't tell anybody that I'm going to cut stuff out because we won't be." I get it. So, which is more just an instruction for me, nothing for you. But there are audio problems. Let's try and work through them a bit. What do I need to do, Candy?
I'm just on my phone.
That sounded great.
I am just on my phone.
Okay. Turned into a little bit of a robot there a minute ago, but now that we're back out of the simulation.
There you go.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Just doing the things, doing day to day, working, tattooing, trying to make everything work in this fucking paradise life that we're trying to live. You know what I mean?
I do. If I look at my Instagram, I got nothing to complain about.
Mm-hmm.
If I look at everybody's Instagram, it's like they got nothing to complain about. But let me actually, before I get into the stupid stuff, let's welcome Jake Parson from Ink Masters. Jake Parson. What season was it?
That was 13.
Woo! Otherwise known as the Unlucky 13.
Yeah, the season that kind of broke everything.
This season that never should be. What have you given it names?
Recently I was talking to some clients that watched the season, and I think it's been dubbed the COVID season, just because it was like it aired just before everything shut down, and then it kind of like went down the tube for a second. So
shouldn't that have helped? I mean, we all found Lion King because of COVID. Was it Lion King? It should be the Lion King season. It's just like, no, Lion King was more important.
I mean, yeah, it probably would have gotten a lot more popular.
I would have thought the COVID would shut everybody in and they'd be like, oh, good, let's watch this thing.
Yeah. Well,
how was your experience afterwards, I guess?
My experience of what? I'm sorry?
Your experience after Ink Master, was it oh God, I can't go to the mall?
I thought it was great. I mean, I really didn't know what to expect, but the idea that there is such a huge fan base of the show that extends so much further than just tattooing was really, really cool. I didn't get stopped a whole lot, but it was a surreal feeling when it did happen, because there was an instant that I was waiting to go to dinner. So I was waiting outside, and this dude just like kind of rolls up on me, and he's got kind of like a stern look on his face, and he like real close, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And he goes, "Are you Jake Parsons?" I'm like,
you're like, fuck, I'm about to get shot.
Yeah, dude, I am. Like, who wants to know? And he goes, "I just finished your season. I thought you did great." And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, I thought I was about to get rolled, man. But
right, I love it.
Yeah, so like little moments like that, but the tattoo community, as far as like conventioning and stuff like that, and people coming, that are experiencing it for the first time when they come to that show and they recognize your face, like it's crazy. Like sometimes it's confusion, like they're not sure where they know you from, but then other times they know exactly where they know you from, and it's really cool. Like I thought the experience afterward was super awesome.
How was your client list? Did it change and you're doing more soccer moms, more varied tattoos, or you still keeping it pretty focused?
It didn't, like, everybody thinks that like as soon as you go on the show, like your clientele is going to go through the roof, and it's not necessarily like that. Like you gotta make it work for you. It's not going to just happen to you. You got to fucking put some work into it to make it whatever it is that you want it to be. And some people have done really, really well with that, and then some people kind of like let it shift to the wayside. And my clientele specifically, it was cool. I did get people that would get tattooed just because they saw me on TV, but a lot of it was like, oh shit, it's like I didn't realize that you were here in town, and I just saw like the TV show, and like a lot of it was a weird circle of like, like the 7 stages of Kevin Bacon, like, oh, I knew this person that was on the show, I knew this person, and like then it started to become like a little bit of a collector list, and I thought that was cool. But
what the people were coming to add you to their list of Ink Master collectors?
Yeah, like they'd be like, oh, I got this from so and so on this season, and I got this, and I was like, oh, well, that's kind of a cool way to go about it, is that now you have a list of people that are good, and a list of people that overall, like most of us are good human beings, you know what I mean? So like it's cool that people kind of can embrace that.
Well, most of us are good human beings. Who is not the good human being on season 13?
Oh, bro, come on now. It
was no fun unless I make you say the names.
Oh shit. Well, you're gonna have to work harder than that, bro.
Right on. So you knew who the villains were when you went in, but you didn't feel like addressing it?
Bro, that's the thing, is like the people that are the villains, like they know that they're the villains. And a lot of people, it's so fucking funny, because like we lived it, like we were there every single day, like we got to know all these people for who they were, and then we got to know who these people were when the cameras and the lights come on. And a lot of fucking people like know that it's like, I could be a nice guy, but I have so much more fun being the bad guy. And they're not really like that in real life. And a lot of people are like, oh, I fucking hate so-and-so. Oh, I fucking hate this dude or that guy. And they're like the sweetest fucking people, man.
Anybody that you would name that you're like, because you're justifying them too. So like for me, Emily El Delgado and Josh Payne. Love those two.
For sure.
Forever I am defending them, right?
Yeah. Fucking Jason Elliott was on my season, and he fucking plays the game so well. Mm-hmm. And I was like just blown away by like how he understood, how to fucking play the game. And
is he watching the challenge or something? Is he watching the Kardashians? What's his did you ask?
Fucking if I know, man. Like who fucking knows like where he gets it from, but he must have, sided with like the Disney villains when he was growing up, like, Lion King, Scarface, bro. He's just so good at being bad. And then like
he's like Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan. He's like, I'm Ric Flair all day long. Maybe NWO Hogan,
but like when those fucking camera lights go off, like these people are still really awesome, good people. I'm just like, what?
Well, I gotta admit, like there was, for us in my season, there was a disconnect. I think that as seasons progressed, people expected that more and understood and dealt like, but between season 3 and 4, there was this kind of contention of sorts for anybody who was there not to be tattooing. If you were there at all for increasing your client list by your popularity, we were all riding on that, even though I think all of us were, like, be honest, right? In some way
there's certain things that we all go in there like even subconsciously knowing like you have the agenda, you know what I mean? It's like if you don't want to be seen on TV and you don't want to do everything that certain people complain about, and it's like, well, then don't don't show up. Like, why are you
don't go to yeah I remember there was one kid, I guess I won't say his name, I almost want to, maybe I will eventually. You could pull it on me, but he was love the kid, but he was romancing a producer and like going down the hallway with her, and he's like, yeah, imagine me like John Tafferty coming in and being like, you don't know how to tattoo, you're gonna give somebody hepatitis, you're gonna give them AIDS, you need to stop doing it. And you're like, he's like pitching a show right now. Did you catch any of that then too?
I mean,
that's kind of what we're talking about, right?
Well, I suppose, yeah. I think by the time, from when you were on it to when I was on it, from, season 3 and 4 to 13, like they definitely figured out the formula. And in my opinion, dude's like, I'm gonna be fucking pro Ink Master all the way. Like, I think an hour-long show of just, good tattoos is boring as fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what we need to do is like make it for the common man that doesn't really understand like why we enjoy it, like why we think it would be exciting just to see really dope tattoos go head to head. But let's give, somebody that doesn't understand that something to watch, something entertaining. Now, I will say, it's like, everybody's like, oh, was it scripted? Was it this or that? It's like, no, man, it's like everybody enjoyed my quote unquote character so much is because I understood that the reality was not my reality. It was just the reality I got to live for those 2 months. And I fucking played it out. I like loved every second of it because it gave you an opportunity to just to, like you don't have to change who you are, but you get to amplify it a little bit.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, like when like we were talking about like people being good at being bad, then there's just people that are just bad at being fucking anything. You know what I mean?
That good.
So
being bad at being good.
And like they can definitely get lost in that whole idea. It's like, bro, this isn't fucking real. They call it reality TV because it's anything but. And it's
Right.
like, you just gotta understand, man. It's like, once this is over, you get literally picked up by the claw and like dropped right back in your life again. And it's not going to change anything unless you really royally fuck up. So anytime any of these things, like when I was saying like the formula, it's like they figured out how to, at least on my season, like I felt it was like very genuine and very real. Now, granted, there are certain things that they didn't use because we got a little bit crazy with it. And then there's certain things that they probably also amplified themselves because they're like, hey, it's like, we heard you say this, but we didn't catch it on film. Like, do you want to say it now? And anytime somebody comes up to me, I'm like, fuck yeah, bro, put me in the room. Let's go.
What, having had head to heads with people, not just the confessional then.
What's that?
Doing head to heads with other contestants then, not just the confessional.
Sure,
you mean put me in the confessional?
Dude, it was all in good fun, but like, yeah, it's definitely like that's where the magic was. It's like that's where the fucking show has been, 13 seasons now, going on 14, 15 or whatever. Like it's the formula.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like I said, I'm gung ho for it all the way. It's like I hope it gets way more success, and I hope they reformat that formula because obviously by the time I got there, it was on the verge of crumbling completely. So the fact that they were even bringing it back for a 14, and I really enjoyed it. Like I thought it was fucking dope.
I think they need to stick with. I'm going to give a little critique, and I'll ask you to do the same. I think they need a little bit more meat and potatoes. They give you plenty of frosting and plenty of cupcake, but I want more meat and potatoes with it too, to feel like I'll entertain that dessert all day long. I'll love it, right? But secretively, I need to feel as though I got something substantial and walk away from, and the dessert just put it over the top. But they're not feeding us the tattoos, in my opinion, in the way that you and I know they form. Like there is a love that everybody who's ever watched a tattoo go on in front of them, they feel about the progress of it, the start, the middle, and then as they see like the bottom pieces getting finished, and they're like, oh wow. And then there's that moment, right when the white starts going in and you do your first wipe on the eye or whatever, and they're like, wow, that white really that really does the thing there, huh?
Yeah, it brings it to life. It really does wonders for it. Makes it the next. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And that whole process is somewhat missed in their force of just paying attention to the drama. I feel like that was the meat and potatoes they used to give us. And if they just staged those tattoos from stationary cameras, so that they could, when they do their walk-ins or whatever, they could also show a brief progress shot, right? And it would be timed, so that you're like, it's first stage progress, it's middle of the tattoo, it's before the whites, and just a brief second. You know what I mean? You might give them other little bits, like you're doing a strip tease is a girl with the balloons. I seen a girl doing the burlesque. She's doing the damn balloon act. And you're like, that's an awesome act. I've seen it done well. However, she pops all the balloons in the front, and then she's just wasting her time with the balloons on the side. You're like, no, you're missing it. You know what I mean? It's about the idea of what's behind it. It's about not showing more than it is about showing.
I think I think that is an excellent, analogy for it. And I do think, essentially when it was a new idea, like that's what it was about. And if we could get back to that, I mean, as far as like, tattooers watching the show, maybe we'd start getting a lot more of the, the bulk of everyone that we know back on board of what the show was initially supposed to be, which was a head to head, who's the better tattooer.
Right.
I would agree with that. I mean, but I look at it from from the stance of like, I know what it takes and I know the application and all that. So I don't know if that's a biased opinion.
Yeah. I think even in asking other viewers, just unrelated, they've all mentioned that they feel there is less time paid attention to the actual tattoo, and that sometimes the critique, like they'll show a brief second of the tattoo, give a critique, and they'll think, well, that didn't match, and they'll never see the tattoo again to see it backed up, and it's almost like they're trying to cover up their shitty critique, or you know what I mean. So that they'll be like, well, that line work was shaky. And you're like, I didn't see any shaky line work. Can you?
Like, let's go back to that.
Yeah, and they're like, nah, we don't need to. We just trust the judges. They're judges,
Yeah, they're judges. They know what they're talking about. That's why they're in charge.
Mm-hmm. Out of all the people in the world, did the best out of reality television for tattoos. Who is it?
Are you talking like on that show particularly, or just in general?
No, just in general? Because I mean, I feel I'll say who I think it is. I think Kat Von D has done the best, and I'm not saying it's because of her work. And I'm not trying to dog her either when I say that. I'm just saying timing, everything that hit. Like she got that first wave like a surfer, right? And she hit the tube. She ended up spawning other people. We didn't know about, some people didn't know about Nico Hurtado until her.
I would have taken it a step further and say like Ami James, like that whole first Miami Ink is literally, the catalyst for all of this. You know what I mean?
Well, definitely it's, if you were going to take out the vampire head, that's where you'd start, right?
Well, yeah. So if you're talking about like critiquing it or viewing it in a scenario that really does like the best for the community, it's like that's where I would go with it, because that's where even Kat Von D came from. You know what I mean? And she did a great job. Like I was a huge fan of that whole era. Like you said, like she brought a lot of people to light that we wouldn't even have known about.
Kim Tsai, Hannah Ashenson, to name just a couple, right?
Yeah, just a few, but that's what I like. Like I feel like it's full circle that like Ami definitely sparked my interest, definitely was a huge inspiration on me, 20 years ago. Like I've been tattooing like almost like 18 years now, and like I remember like the thrill of Thursday nights, like watching the show and then finishing the show and then fucking drawing my ass off all night, and then not really knowing why my shit didn't look like that, and then waiting and
then being like, well, at least I'm as good as Nunez.
Oh man, yeah. But like that's the cool thing, is like that's also where Chris came from and all that kind of thing. Like, and I feel like we've done full circle now. It's like Ami kind of started it, and now he's like on the Ink Master, like as a judge. So it's like it's kind of cool to see that little circle. But I feel like that one definitely brought this whole idea of tattooing to light, because like what you're talking about is like we actually got to see the start, the middle, and the finish.
Right. I feel like when it went to LA though, it made a bigger splash. And I think actually having a pretty face female that had an awesome attitude for it, for stardom and all. And she was already touched in with this kind of celebrity thing. So you can do a certain amount in Miami, but for a lot of people, they worship stars, and the stars, there's a few in Miami, but in Hollywood, there's more. So I feel like she had this, even though Ink Master was the head, I feel like if anybody's name is carried further than anybody else's from this, it's probably Kat Von D's.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just look at what she's doing now and like all the fucking things that she's done. Like she's literally been everywhere and really hasn't left the limelight. Right. But that particular, LA Ink, like I feel like that's where as far as like TV land goes, like there was a lot more than just doing. Like they started to tap into like, oh, so and so said this, or so and so.
Yeah, I followed too.
That.
Yeah, I should discount it almost because that was awesome. I love Amy Nicoletto. She's a close dear personal friend. Like the girl quite a bit, but that show when she came in there, actually there was beef between her and Kat Von Kat, and Amy's from Jersey and she's like, I ain't taking it. Fuck this bitch. Who the fuck she thinks she is? So she's fucking awesome. And then the producers are like, as she explains to me, I need to get her on the show to actually go into that some, but she explains it to me. She's like, no, she was being a cunt, but these producers wanted to stage it. So they go and they find a shop for me to work at, with another guy that's kind of got some chops, just so they can be like, you guys are fighting each other.
Oh yeah. Well, that is why that show went fucking everywhere. Is because as far as
they tapped into the drama better than the meat and potatoes.
Oh, that's
the very thing that I'm complaining about.
How about? And you're like, I love it. I thought it was awesome. I think that's so dope.
Honestly, no, that was when I had quit watching. I was no longer watching at that point. I had, I didn't even know when I met Amy Nicoletto. I knew that she had been on the show, but I had no idea that she was that there was this animosity or there was this kind of drama between them, or that they hyped it up like it was. But that girl is like, she'll tell you everything, man. She'll tell you, you can ask her what her morning stool was like that day, and she's going to get descriptive with you. She's awesome. So she was like, no, there was problems.
On the list of things not to ask.
Oh yeah, if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask Amy, or at least her opinion of it. If you're like, man, that might be like, because she's I love her for it. She's like James Vaughn kind of to me in that sense, like there's more comedy and humor or in truth. So like, let's just get down to the truth of it all.
Well, and it's easier to swallow too. And you're like, God damn. It's like, I didn't think about it.
It's not always easier. Yeah. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's bitter. That truth is bitter. Sometimes we like it. Ink Master then comes from the drama. Do you have any, for me, there's one show in particular, again, I'm going to try and veer towards. I'm curious if you've seen it. Any show along the line that you regret didn't go further tattoo related, in reality television, tattoo related, that you saw it and you're like, man, I wish that would be what tattooing on TV was.
The thing is like, you're talking about meat and potatoes. You're talking about the shit that you want to see. Like, it might be about opinion, because we had one. I don't know if you remember it. Well, of course you remember it, because like that's what gave us fucking DJ Tambi, is like that Best Ink. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That
competition
was,
show.
Like, the rival to Ink Master. Like, they're fucking like, oh, if they can do it, we can do it. And I fucking loved it, because it literally was an hour of like, who has the best tattoo. It didn't have all the fluff of, it's like, let's go ahead and, give the entertainment value for whomever is watching in fucking Tennessee or Ohio, or like, in the middle of the map or whatever. Mm-hmm. It was literally about, let's get the best tattooers we can find and let's make the best tattoos that we can. Like, dude, did you ever watch that one? Because like,
I did watch 1 or 2 seasons. I think I seen when Roman got kicked off or left.
That's what I was
we talked about it briefly. Exactly. He was like, dude, this fucker's he got mad about Capo. I don't know if you my side of the story from Roman. Capo and him are catching up. I'm calling him Capo. I probably shouldn't. How can I not think of his fucking name though right now? Help me out, please. Joe Capobianco. Thank you. Holy shit, dude. Like, what a piece of shit I am not to. At any rate, the legend Joe Capobianco and him are catching up. They know each other. And they're chatting, tattoo this or that and that and this. And then the cameras start rolling. And he comes over and he completely changes tune. This is according to Roman. He's like, 1 second, he's like, yeah, I fucking love this, blah, blah, blah. The very next second, the cameras come in and he's like dogging my shit out. He's like, it looks like you're just sending this, like you're phoning it in and all this kind of stuff. And he's like, what? He said he got up and left. Actually, they had to talk him back to the set. And then he finished the tattoo, but then quit.
Well, okay. I mean, maybe that is a situation of like, we didn't read the fine print, because what is fucking, Joe supposed to do when the cameras turn on? Like, he's a fucking judge.
Yes.
Like,
Yes,
not,
I get it.
that's
I
what I'm saying, is like when I watched that show, it's like I loved it, and I remember specifically when Roman was on it because like I don't know how he fucking did it, and it kind of was like the whole guns blazing mic drop, but like he literally went in there and they're like, these are the rules, and he's like, fuck that. He's like, he tattooed like way past the deadline. He finished his tattoo, and he's like, you know what? I don't even fucking want to compete with that. I just wanted to tattoo. And then he fucking, Elvis has left the building. And I was just like, holy shit. Like for one episode, it was no longer, Best Ink. It was the fucking Roman show. And
Yeah.
it was, love it or hate it. It was like epic and amazing. And that's kind of what I think, like that's why it's not around anymore, is that it was too focused on, and that's why I loved it, obviously.
The very thing that he thought Capobianco was going for, they were not able to achieve.
Yes.
And somewhat because of antics like that.
Yeah. Well, and
despite that being a good one for a minute, but then you're like, dude, what about episode 2?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, bro, we got 16 more of these to do. Like,
yeah. I don't know if you watched the season that I was on when I get in the fight, but they did a good job. Like I did a good job. I want to give myself a pat on the back. I waited until the 8th episode and I gave them the ability to hype that shit up. Every week they were like, is it this week Kyle gets in a fight? Pretty sure I saw the commercial. Pretty sure it's like this week. Nope, not again. Another week. I'll watch again. Damn, Roman goes through and fucks up on the first day. Yep. And at any rate.
Yeah, what we got left? But
I got Epic Tattoos. Do you remember this show called I thought it was called Epic Tattoos. Maybe Epic Tats.
Okay. Enlighten me. I mean, I'm sure I've seen
listen to this genius show that you would love to watch. However, we'll never make it any more than half of the season because just listen to the synopsis. 4 to 6 geeky tattoo artists, all working at the same shop. They do geeky, nerdy tattoos on geeky, nerdy people, and they go sometimes geeky, nerdy places. Bam! I loved it.
Yeah,
I fucking loved it.
I do remember that.
Did you like? And it didn't do good because people were like, "Oh, they don't hate each other."
Well, bro, like, why do we fucking watch some of the HBO dramas? Like, why, Game of Thrones such a huge success? Because people fucking fight, bro. People kill each other. Like, as a society, it's not always, the nice ideas. Like, we wouldn't do that in real life, but like that's just why. Like, it is a great idea. It was a cool like idea for a tattoo show, and it was in the era of like, all right, well, now we got one successful show, now we got 2, like how are we going to jump on this train? And like they're throwing anything at the wall,
right.
Stick, and it just doesn't work like that, because at the fucking meat and potatoes, watching somebody tattoo is not entertaining. It is boring as fuck. The only people that really like it are you and me, because we get to see, we have the vision, you know what I mean? But like all those people that bring their friends and their homies and their entourage to the tattoo shop, it's like, man, you guys are in for a long, shitty day, because this is not exciting.
Yeah. Wow, kids will be excited at the tattoo shop. My kids grew up at a tattoo shop, so everybody like, wow, was that exciting? Like, this is so boring. They're like, we want to ever do is not be around or talk about tattoos. We'd be excited to.
Yeah, man. That's the craziest thing. It's like the only people that are really excited about tattoos are the tattooer, us, because we've created this idea, and the person getting it, because they want to see it just as bad as we do, because we made the agreement.
And then the people viewing it are just like, yeah, that's cool. Let me show you mine.
Yeah, you want to see something? Oh man.
Or let me just tell you about this one. It's way better. Okay, check it. Oh, you got a cool tattoo. Okay, it's cool. Check it out, man. My cousin. Okay, he got the seagull on his back door. It looks like it's fucking. It's flying. Okay.
Yeah, validate my idea, please. Tell me it's cool. I'm never gonna get it. Validate it.
How do you like? I mean, now we're pretty off track, but that's the name of the show. So awesome. One of my favorites to hear from anybody is, I got a tattoo idea. Nobody can do it.
Oh, yeah.
I would get it done too. It's just nobody's good enough.
Yeah.
Have you heard this?
Dude, of course.
Okay. It's my favorite. I love it so much. I just love it so much because it shows a lot about number one, fuck you. Because I don't know, nobody wants to work with you. It isn't your idea. It's you. Your idea and you go together and make a catastrophe-free maelstrom of fuck. Like, no. And then their idea is usually, oh man, let me tell you one that's always stuck in my head. I hope he's not listening. Actually, you know what? Fuck you, dude. You screwed up my brakes. Fuck you. Now I think about it. He screwed up my brakes, told me they were fixed. I ended up driving back from Massachusetts. They're not. Anyways, this motherfucker wants to get Superman flying out of a manhole cover. Okay.
Right.
And then over top of the city, because that's possible. Because the city skyline is also in there in the distance. And then in his hand, he has 5 kryptonite gems. Each of them have, each one have a children's name on it. You know where this is going.
Yes, continue.
And then, of course, I mean, to me, I think that was almost the end of it. I know there was more to it because there was like different descriptions of the sky, descriptions of the of Superman's cape because it was battle torn, and it was made out of an American flag, I believe, as well.
Oh my God!
American flag
oh no!
In there, so like you're like, so is it even Superman at this point? And then his hand is big enough to see 5 names on 5 kryptonite shards.
Oh, bro. Yeah, that's definitely where you fucking chimed out. You're like, okay.
And he's flying out of the manhole cover. And also over top of the city skyline.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's that's a turtle thing, bro. Like, you're getting your comic books mixed up.
That's how I felt. I think I may have even mentioned. You know what I mean? Because I'm a nerd, right? So like I ain't not knowing about the Teenage Mutant Eastman and Laird's. You know, I was down before it was a cartoon, right? So I'm thinking that, and he says, no, because of where I've been. Okay. So it's actually extremely important. This isn't something that we can just get right out of because he comes from the gutters. Okay.
Oh man, Superman, Clark Kent in the sewers, but Superman in the street.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. Yes. And I don't know, one of those, man, I just can't find anybody that's good enough to do it. And you're like, no, you idiot. You cannot describe a single image. Like, you're like, all this is in motion, right? Like, you could animate this. Right, flying out of the manhole cover, fucking close up of just a super S goes past you, and then you pull out a little bit, you see a flopping away manhole cover, ringing around, and then flying up over the city skyline. There's Superman. He opens up his palm. We zoom in. What do we see? 5 names on these stupid ass fucking kryptonite shards.
That is probably the best idea I've ever heard. And you know what? I'm going to strive to be the one that is good enough to do that. Okay. I've just found my new purpose in life that I need to figure out how to.
But you realize what you'll do to my dreams as a tattoo artist when you realize and make real the thing that I imagined were impossible. I might as well cut my fingers off.
Well, do me a favor. It's not that hard to blend the background and the foreground into one ground. You know what I mean? Like, it's all in the composition, bro.
Yeah, well, but you're over top of the skyline too, right? So you're blending that. I guess you see the manhole cover in motion, right? It's flying, flop, flop, flop. Probably got the lines on it. I don't know what else I would do in a tattoo to put.
I think the crucial part of this conversation is that it started. I was tripping mushrooms once, and
yeah, I probably should have. 5 kids. You know what? I tell people, I try to get them, and I hope they can, if they're listening, like you have a voice. So feel free to explain your own intention for this tattoo, but allow the viewer to have his own interpretation and enjoy letting them explain what they imagine it to mean to you. Even ask them first and then set it up like, oh, you fucking idiot. It actually means duh.
You know, man, like a lot of times it's overlooked, but you got to consider, and like we're gonna get real for just 1 second that, you know, homeboy is like, I just haven't found anybody good enough. Well, honestly, bro, it's like you got to consider like nobody's gonna be able to do that for you because you're not looking at this as a collaboration. You know what I mean? Like tattoos are always a collaboration, and that's between you and the person. You know what I mean? It's like you're never ever gonna get it right. You're never gonna be able to get it the way they see it in their head. But vice versa, they're never ever gonna be able to explain it to you for you to get it. So they got to be a little bit open-minded, being like, you are giving me the keynotes, you are giving me the bullets, but as far as like the actual literature, not going to be the same, home.
You're giving me the kryptonite shards, but
yeah, I've got the names, but the thing is, all right, who are your favorite kids? Those are the ones that we
oh, I'm gonna save that forever. That's what I'm gonna use from now on. Which are you got a lot? Which are your favorites? I've had people make decisions similar to that, right? Like there's some that are like, well, these are my stepchildren, so you can put them on a separate leaf.
Oh my god.
Right. It feels you're like, oh yeah. Like you just okay.
You know, we'll see how it goes. Let's leave that leaf out. We'll just see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'll get it later.
Yeah, because if you get divorced, you're not gonna keep these, right? So I don't know. There's so many times being an artist with and being all art is collaboration. Sometimes we're welcome into some things that you're like, I don't know, they enrich my life, but they do give you pause too. Just be like, oh, that's how that goes. Huh? Interesting. Interesting.
You gotta take a moment, man. You gotta take a moment and be like, oh, all right, so this is how today is gonna go.
So one of my favorite questions I've ever been asked by anybody going to do a guest spot is what I want to ask you as well. I was asked, what's the craziest thing that you've ever experienced inside of a tattoo shop?
That's the question of the ages, isn't it?
Well, I can give you a little warm. I mean, I'll give you where I went. It might warm your brain up.
Let's feel. Well, yeah, there's a lot of directions you can go with this.
While tattooing one night, I am with a friend of mine who does my lawn. He comes. I mean, he's a lawn guy, and he just sometimes come and hang out. He's hanging out at the shop that night, and I'm tattooing this girl that works at the Speedway, who's about 7 foot tall. I swear to God, and she has the squeakiest, like Mike Tyson voice. Like she could be the smallest mouse in a Disney movie, right? And she is the biggest lady and sweet, right? She's and funny. Like she's got a she used to have a CB handle and all. Because I think she did most of her flirting, like not being seen. She's an intimidating girl. Anyways, I'm tattooing her. My wife ends up having somebody walk in, and they're mostly together, right? like the girl is with this guy and definitely kind of doting on him, and he definitely has money, and she is not of the same class that you would normally figure that his button-up shirt should be associating with. At one point she pulls her halter top down to show off a tattoo that's on her lapel or her collarbone. No need,
right.
Pulls it right down, just pulls up the boys, just like, hey, what's up? Or the girls, I guess,
the girls,
check them out.
The twins.
And so you can see the tattoo up here. Now I'm not up there for this, but my friend is, he is. So I'm tattooing, and he was like telling me the story later. She comes up to him as the guy that she goes in with leaves to go use the bathroom, and she says, so what you up to, or whatever. And he's like, whoa, this girl is completely hitting on me. And he's like, well, I'm just chilling. She's like, oh, him, don't worry about him, he's just money. So that's the setup, but he is paying for her tattoo. She then comes downstairs to get tattooed by my wife. I should say they went out in the parking lot, and when they came back in, she especially was different. Like you cannot get that drunk in that amount of time, right? Like it wasn't alcohol. We found out later through other sources, other tattoo shops that she went to try and finish the tattoo, as it was not finished, that it was actually Stadol. She went out and did this morphine, basically like a nasal drip of morphine. She shot it in her nose, comes in, goofed out of her fucking mind, just like, ugh. Starts to get tattooed on her thigh, keeps spreading her legs. This is my wife tattooing, and she's not all about this shit. You might have got
Right.
further with a dude, but so she's spreading her legs to try and get the tattoo. It's supposed to go on the outside of her thigh, but she keeps spreading her legs open as though and Candy's like, eventually, listen, I've got to put this on the outside of your thigh. Can you put your knees together? Gets her knees together at one point, starts to do the tattoo. The girl's doing the same fucking shit, keeps opening her thighs. Candy's got to be like, hey, got to keep your legs because I'm working on the outside of your thighs. She's like, yeah. Candy starts working on it. She spreads her thighs again, starts rubbing the man in the boat. Going right at it. Going like right at it, dude. Like, no. And fucking with her little, like to come out. And then I'm like, whoa, what the hell? My friend's like, he's like, can't wait to fill me out on the story that went on upstairs. The girl that I'm tattooing, I think she might be into it, honestly. She's like, whoa, hey, don't stop her. And Candy's like, the tattoo's done. Yeah, no, we're done. We're just, and the guy's like, so we'll come back tomorrow and you'll finish it up. He's like, no, she got her money's worth and I'm keeping this.
Jesus.
That's how we get the call from a neighboring tattoo artist that says, hey, man, someone came in with a stencil. I won't work on it if you don't want me to. And we were like, no, you do whatever, but just whatever, man. She was all fucked up. So make sure she's going to be sober with you. But at any rate, anything? Wow. Does it jog the memory?
Bro,
when was the last time a girl got her full-on butthole tattooed in your shop?
I am very much happy to say that, like, I don't stand for shit like that in the first place. So it's like, I am not tattooing anybody's butthole. I'm not tattooing anybody's fucking junk. So let it be known, let it out there, send the pigeons.
Oh man, that's at least like 0.5% of your clientele base. Right? You just,
okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
Your market share is going down. No, you won't and have never tattooed genitals.
Yeah. Okay, well let's put it this way. Like if it's going to happen, there's going to be a handling fee, and you better be coming from that old money to
because it's going to be high.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm sad to admit that actually I don't know. I love it for humor's sake, but I needed to make it to Florida, and I was in Tennessee, and I did it for gas money. The handling fee was $100. I still kept that. We put a star on this guy's penis, on the head of his penis, so he could have a shooting star.
Oh my God. See, all right. That comes into the shop and I'm be like, get the fuck out. Like, I do.
No, that's not the day that you're like, okay, I don't want you here, but I want to know more.
Oh, fuck. Right? My stories are like the crazy fucking passing out. Like I don't know. It doesn't sound good, but it's like I have like so many stories of people like just heading out. Then I probably should.
They jump up and start running towards the door, thinking they need some air or what?
They're okay. So this wasn't. I was present for this, but it didn't happen to me. But I got a fucking like front row seat for the whole thing. That this big dude, and it's always the fucking dudes. I don't understand why.
Big guys pass out a lot more. I personally think they have more adrenaline and then more anticipation of our people looking at me. Like a girl, she can look weak and know the others there are going to try and comfort and help her in general cases. And if a guy is brought up with not so much of a support of, masculinity, any chink in his masculinity, then he's like, are they all watching me? So his anxiety gets so high, he just passes out and does the ultimate bitch thing, which is such a humorous thing. You're like,
yeah, like it always happens within like the first fucking 5-10 minutes of them getting tattooed. So that's a roller coaster for somebody to be
I find they usually say the same thing too. They usually, oh, that ain't so bad. I mean, if it's their first one, and then you're like, oh shit, now you're about to pass out, ain't you?
Oh man.
If they tell me that, oh, that isn't so bad. You're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna take a second. You know what? You said the key word. You know what? I'm just going to chill for a second, let you really settle into that. Concentrate on the pain. Understand it is going to last for another hour and a half at the least, right?
At least, yeah.
Well, because after that, I feel like the dump occurs. Their adrenaline goes down, their fight or flight. but their body is still telling them, hey, big motherfucker, with all this testosterone and endorphins that I'm just rushing through your body right now, why aren't you running away?
Yeah, it's like your legs aren't working, bro. So
Yeah. Why
I
aren't
guess
you punching this guy?
we're gonna fucking shut down for a moment and like recalculate and like reconvene, and we'll come back in a minute and make some more decisions.
See, these are some of the things that make me a bit reluctant to just believe in a genius God, because that cannot be the proper thing to do in this situation. It's like, oh, okay, is it like that? Okay, just gonna pass out. What's gonna be is gonna be. I'm gonna wake up with a sore butthole and a fucking missing teeth, no kidneys.
Back in caveman days, you run into a bear, you just play dead. So hopefully I don't see that working at a tattoo shop. But
when you play dead with a bear, oftentimes though you wake up dead as well. Like that, I think it seems like there's a good chance. Good chance you also wake up dead. Like you come to after like, oh man, the bear was hurting me so bad that my body was like, hey, that's too much, and it checked out. And then when I came back to, I was like, oh, good. I'm glad everything's okay now. No, I'm sure you're like picking up the pieces. Like I would rather pass out again.
Yeah, I'm in better shape than I was before. This worked out really well for me.
Kind of cracked my neck, just like a chiropractic visit. I don't know. Anyways, I think these big guys in your shop.
Oh yeah,
you say this happens enough. Are they trying to go for the door? I've experienced that you gotta like sit down, motherfucker.
Okay, yeah, it's your typical thing. It's like big dude sitting in the shop getting tattooed by a coworker. Like I said, it's like I get to see the whole fucking thing. It's raining. It's like one of the rainiest days in the city, and where the shop was located was like the middle of the city. So the gutters and stuff like that aren't so great. There's potholes, stuff like this, like city stuff. So what would happen is like whenever we get heavy rain, we would have a puddle that forms like right in front of the front door. Very inconvenient. You got to step over.
Yeah, that's a bad place for it.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and fast forward. Big dude is getting tattooed, and it's like the first line or two, and you can see that he's looking gaunt. He's looking white.
That's hurting me.
Yeah, he's sweating. And a little bit further into it, my homie's like, "Hey, bro, you all right?" And he goes, I left something in my car. I got to go to my car real quick." And he goes, "What?" And it's like, before he could even clean him up, the dude jumps up and like it's a long hallway to the front door. He beelines it down the front door, and he's obviously headed toward, going outside. But just before he makes it there, like fucking lights out. Okay, now we have these two swinging doors. They're heavy as fuck. They're like big iron doors. But he is maybe 2 steps in front of it, fucking head first, opens both doors, and then right into this huge puddle.
Okay.
It was like he's trying to make the touchdown, but he just didn't have the football. You know what I mean? Like he's just diving right into it. And
I'm one of the people that pass out. Like I can't fight. Like people would think I'm tough, but I could get knocked out so much because I've been passed out so much. Like we used to do those elevators as kids where you hyperventilate and you stand up, someone pushes on your chest till you pass out, until we figured out you could put each other in a sleeper hold and then really put people to sleep. And so, thank God for the WWF or whatnot. WWE is, I guess it is nowadays. Yeah. We knocked each other out all the fucking time, man. So now if I stand up too fast, I'll go down. You know what I mean? Yeah, for real. Like if I'm like doing some work on the ground, this happens all the time, like once or twice a week, sometimes several times in a day. I will stand up from an area too fast, and now I'm tempered, so I know. And I'm like, oh, that was too fast. I better sit back down. I will sometimes just see me squat and just sit right back down and get a bucket, get in between my knees, kind of get my elbows braced up. And as long as I go back down to that elevation, I'm kind of fine. Something about the change in pressure or the breathing that I must not do the right breathing right before I stand up. The same thing I know happens with these people when they do that adrenaline shot towards the door straight from your chair. Oh, I forgot my Slipknot CD. I'll be right back.
Well, yeah, and this homie like ran. So like you were saying earlier, it's like, why aren't your legs working? And he's like, well, they are working. He's like, no, we're turning off right now. And he goes, oh, no. Oh,
The worst
huge.
time I've ever had that happen, I put a joint out, so I'm holding a hit in. I'm getting out of my friend's car and walking into the gas station. And he says, like, he had to describe the scene to me because I'm passing out, right? I'm like a young guy, not knowing that this is going to occur to me because I've been doing it for weekend fun instead. Like, that's why weed should be available. Give the kids weed. If we had weed, we wouldn't have been passing each other out. Anyways, so I'm walking into the fucking store and it starts getting light. The tunnel starts to dim. The edges get in, and it's like you're looking at a train suddenly, just one single tunnel, one little dot, and then it just fizzles out. According to my friend, I was walking, and I knew I was trying to maintain, right? I could tell something's going on, but I'm trying to keep my chest out, or maybe some girls are looking. Young guy walking, just walking normal. Then all of a sudden, just nosedive right into the cement. And then just like with my hands and my upper body completely numb, my head turned to the side, drooling on myself and mugging like, while my legs are still trying to walk. But like my butt was in the air and my knees were just smashing into the cement over and over.
It's just like straight up worming it on the ground.
Yeah. I remember that trying to to not look, weak when I was going in there, like for fear that some girls would be watching. And then to think that I'm just like bashing my knees in the ground. And goddamn, you people, fucking no one helped. I get back, I wake up, you get that tense sensation, and you got to start checking yourself. Like, did I pee? No. Oh,
Man,
good. Didn't pee.
That, I probably wouldn't help you either. I'd be like, what?
My buddy's standing off to the side drinking a Slurpee. You coming too? Oh, good. Good, man. I thought I might have to call somebody.
You good? You good? All right, let's go.
All right, hop in. Let me tell you how stupid you just looked.
That's perfect. That's a good homie right there. That's a close homie.
Well, yeah, we no longer talk actually.
Well,
a lot went on. Hey, you left me in the middle of we used to do shit, dirt. And one time we were out doing some stupid stuff, thinking that we were getting pop bottles from the golf course. And we did actually. We got like almost 200 bottles in pop bottles the week before because they're 10 cents here in Michigan. Each pop bottle's been 10 cents forever, right? So they were a commodity. And the golf courses would collect them. Most people just throw them in the trash there at the golf courses. The golf course, they'd have a kid that go around, he'd separate the golf, and then he'd keep them and they'd take them back in. Well, they don't take them back in every day. So they sit around for a while. And a lot of times they're not even being watched. And so what we found is we could go to these places and get, $40 to $100 worth of golf of pop bottles in one night. However, one week we found the most ever. And also we found that they had left their cooler open. We stole all the kegs, all this stupid shit, right? And so we're also dumb kids, young kids, right? So we think, I don't know, how long do you got to wait for this to cool down? Probably a week and a half, right? So we go back out there a week and a half later, but now there's an alarm system installed, cameras, fucking this thing lights up like the 4th of July as soon as we start touching doors and stuff. And then we're in the middle of winter. And we just start booking it. We had to get to the golf course. We're not going to go drive onto it, right? So we had to do all this with it was a lot of work. It was, I could have just got a job, to be completely honest. Could have just been working a job. But yeah, he left me out in the middle of the cold ass thing. I had to try and walk 20 miles home, middle of the winter, no shoes because I went through a river to get to some safety because they were out chasing us with dogs and fucking and trucks. Exciting night.
Well, then it's not too much of a shock that homie didn't help you up when you passed out.
Yeah, well, this is prior. I think I should have recognized. This is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, this tracks. I'm sure he's doing fine now.
You're out. But
there. Yeah, and I didn't. Who's the asshole that steals pop bottles from the more I think about it, it's so much karma. Eventually I got caught up in all that stuff. And I seriously remember the day when I was like, I'm not going to sell drugs or steal things ever again. I am going to do tattoos, even if they don't pay me money. I'm going to do free tattoos on motherfuckers. And man, I fucked up that whole trailer park. till I learned how to put a good line on somebody, man, it didn't matter. Like I would I would put my dick in the dirt so that on the weekend I could buy an autoclave bag, run it through. I bought an autoclave, you know. I started things kind of right and just did them all wrong at the other point, like still tattooing in the trailer.
We all have good intentions. We all know what we should do, but then there comes that point where you're like, I am fucking this up. I am not figuring this out.
But my level of tattooing where I was at, the only people that should be getting tattooed by me were people drunk enough. You know, I would invite them over. We'd use beer caps for ink caps. You know, I'd get them drunk enough. I'd buy beer and then I'd tattoo them when they would. Oh, it's terrible to think. There's so many people that I either owe, you know, to be a sponsor at their AA or NA class, or, you know, a cover up at the very least.
At the very least, maybe you should fix something, but
yeah,
you know,
like my whole paycheck goes into buying them beer at the end of the week just so I can get them. Aha, come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly.
I guarantee you they're like, man, you see this tat right here? This tat was done by Kyle Dunbar. This is the coolest tat I own. This thing is super rad. Like,
I bet they're like,
I've noticed is like,
man, this guy bought me a fucking 30-pack of fucking Bush beer.
Bro, he was so fucking cool. He was so
I can't remember his name. If I were to catch up with this motherfucker, look what he did to me. It's supposed to be a Mickey Mouse smoking a joint, banging Minnie.
Bro, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like, if it is the worst tattoo and it's that exact scenario, it's always the tattoo that they'll defend the most. They'll be like, bro, I only had to give him like, you know, like a 6-pack of beer. This only cost me $20. And it's like always the shittiest fucking thing. And it's the one that's like,
oh, they'll enter in the contest. I think we were up there judging. I was judging with Troy, and somebody came up with something. And we were just both like, "Yep, okay, next." And then she wanted to take the time, like she wasn't. And she's like, "Oh, this was done in such and such year, and he did it with this needle." And we're like, "Yeah." So
yeah.
Precisely. Like, no, it's really good. And you're like, "No,
it's not.
It's really old." Bad.
That baffles me.
What's that? Old bad tattoos
when people like
love?
Like such a bad tattoo, and it's because of like the scenario. It's because of like the experience. It's not at all that they can recognize that it's a good tattoo. It's just like, oh man, I met this dude on like a Grateful Dead fucking tour, and we went behind the fucking 7-Eleven and we like all this fucking bullshit, and it's just like that still doesn't justify that you have garbage on you. Like, nah, I can't believe you would pay that much for a tattoo. I know what my cousin does them, you know? And I'm like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. There's I remark, I mean, it isn't it just one of those unique things about life though, right? Like we sometimes our worst traits, we're like, no, I would never change that. That's who I am, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure I do it somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure there's certain things that don't make a whole lot of sense, but they do to you.
Well, speaking of that, what about armrests? They don't always make so much sense. What do you do in that case?
Well, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, you've got a solution.
I'm sure
you know I'm talking about, of course, and I want to give a little promo. This is not the ad section, so nobody needs to skip ahead 30 seconds because we'll be talking about this for 15 minutes actually. No, but I'm serious. Like you have the awesome product that I still use at tattoo conventions that makes life a lot easier. It travels easy. It is a small little armrest that goes on the back of a chair. You don't need a stand for it. It's just a fucking little round armrest.
It was a problem that I noticed that we all have, and it is a solution that a lot of times I've heard that, why didn't I think of this sooner? So that's pretty much what it came from and spawned from, was like a simple need that needed a simple solution, and it's been going extremely well. It's the Pack Rat Travel Armrest, man, and it's honestly, it's made my life easier. I've been using. I made one for myself like 6 years ago, so it's definitely, I know it works. But
how long did it take before you decided to produce these?
It was, I mean, convention after convention of people coming by my booth, like tattooers being like, what the fuck is this thing? And they're seeing this, big round padded, tube on the back of the chair, and they're like, what the hell is that? And I was like, it's my armrests. And they're like, there's no way. And I was like, well, let me show you. And just like I did with you, I brought them in the back of the booth, and I just sat them in the chair and put their arm on it, and they're like, holy fuck. And it was time and time again for about maybe like a year and a half that people are like, holy, it was like, where do you get it? And I was like, I made it. And they're like, oh,
you're an asshole, because I'm lazy and I'm not going to do that.
So yeah, it was just show after show before I was like, well, shit, like maybe this is bigger than I think it is. Like, it's bigger than myself. So
have you been able to make it big like that? Like, honestly, all ideas, right, that lack distribution or the ability to go anywhere, that's as far as they get. So has this been something that you've been able to get the distribution, the understanding of, hey, look at this cool thing? If you are a traveling tattoo artist, and honestly, if you're an artist and you haven't gone to some shows, I suggest do your local show, but really also go to some neighboring states. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Get out. Like, you're gonna be a better artist for it. I know it's a huge part of my development as an artist. I imagine yourself as well.
Well, 100%. Like, one of the biggest decisions I made was like just taking it on the road, and like just you don't understand. It's like it's definitely expensive to travel like that, and a lot of people are like, well, how do you make money? And it's like, well, you know what, sometimes you get paid in other ways. And like the fact that you can go to these shows and like meet so many people and have so many discussions and have these experiences that they all I'll say it, it's like they all pan out in some way. And a lot of ways it is to the success of you that 6 years from now, somebody that you met at a convention, like now you're doing a guest spot, and like now you are getting paid for it. It's like it's a crazy weird circle that this tattoo industry is taken with conventions. It's like it's always fun to meet people, and it's a great way to take your career to the next level. And doing so, like you have to understand, like, oh, I need all this shit that you can't take, that you have, the comfort of your tattoo.
The worst part about tattooing on the road is the comfort that you lack in your actual process of tattoo. Well, maybe that's not the worst part. The worst part is that you lack comfort in your actual process of tattoo, and you're next to the giants you worship. Yeah. Like, if they didn't have to see the product, or there wasn't the ability that they would see the product that you produce, maybe you wouldn't feel as bad about being as uncomfortable, because you're like, it's fucking tough.
Well, dude, progress and success is bred from fucking pressure. You know what I mean? Like, from stress. Like, okay. I mean, I don't know how most people do it, but I know I perform the best under fucking pressure and stress. So,
okay. I think I only perform under pressure and stress. I don't know that I perform best. It's just I'm so lazy. The only time that I ever have the actual impetus to do anything is when I was like, oh, it's now? Okay. Well, right on. The zombies are attacking.
That's why you wait till the night before to do your essay, then like your homework before it's due.
Yeah, and then it does good, you imagine, but like maybe it would have been better if you did start on day one.
Yeah, but you'll never learn. You'll never do that. You'll be like, I should do this sooner, and then you'll still wait till the night before.
Well, that relates somewhat to Ink Masters as well, with just the timer. That, like, scientifically has been proven that if you give people a task to do and more than enough time to do it, like, you can allow them to do the task and say, hey, you have all the time in the world to do this tattoo. To do this task. Don't even worry about it. And they'll get it done in an average of time. And then you add 2 minutes to that time and say, okay, now you have 8 minutes to do this task that has once taken you 6 minutes. Starting now, go. They will have a harder time doing the task under the time limit, even though it is ample amount of time for them to do it.
Well, yep.
Well, that relates to Ink Master in some kind of fashion, I'm thinking. How was the feeling for you counting down then, considering that for your tattoos? I never finished one. Yourself? How'd you do?
Yeah, bro, it's like the idea that you have to perform at 100 when you don't have all the tools and all the like especially time, like to make sure that you were performing at your peak is definitely very, very stressful. And they definitely thrive on people breaking under that stress. Like they want to see somebody not do their greatest because they couldn't figure out how to manage their time.
And one thing they kept doing for season after season, for my season, I thought we never had enough time to draw. I heard that you guys, like, we had the whole night to draw, and we would just stay up all night and not get any sleep because we're idiots. I understood that you guys had to draw like within 1 to 3 hours and then perform the tattoo.
Yeah, like most of the time when it was, the objective for the day, they bring in the canvases, you get to meet them, and then you kind of discuss, like after they did the skull picks and like assigned everybody their tattoos, you got to talk with them for about 30 minutes and like get as much information. And then after that, you get 2 hours. Our season, we got 2 hours to get it down.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's not a lot.
That's no, not at all. However, I was going to say, like from working in those kind of environments, man, it's like that really fucking honed my skill to a point where it's like nowadays it's like if I only have 2 hours, I know I can perform. And it's been really strange. It's like it has definitely kind of like honed the expertise of me guessing how long a tattoo is going to take me, and then needing, like especially in a convention setting where sometimes you don't have a whole lot of time because you got to be done by a certain time that night. Like I can confidently say it's like if I got 2 hours, I can fucking bust out literally anything. And it was from that experience of being like, fuck, we only got 2 hours to do this.
Yeah.
So it was stressful, but also kind of like a cool little, training seminar of like how to manage your time.
Do you end up working later at shows then as a result? You're like, yeah, I can fit that.
No, bro, I'm gonna be the first one out. I am promptly done by like 7 or 8, maybe just before the competition. But I did one time where I shut the show down and it was late at night, and I will never do that again.
You didn't care for it. What was your experience there?
Bro, okay, so I met this shop that they were just like a rowdy fucking bunch of dudes, and a lot of fun, a lot of good times, and they all wanted to get, like a little commemorative, like little tattoo, like we had a great weekend. But they were banging out bangers like all fucking weekend. So like as soon as they'd finish one, they would take another one. They'd finish one, they'd take another one. And then I was like, well, hey, you guys said you wanted to get tattooed. Like, when are you planning on doing this? And they're like, oh, when we finish up. And then finally, like the show is shutting down. I'm like twiddling my thumbs. I'm like, oh, this isn't gonna happen. And fucking 6 of them come up. They're like, all right, we're ready. And I'm like, what? Oh man. So I don't know. Like, I don't know how I fucking did it, but I think I did like 4 tattoos in about a 45-minute span that would normally take me like 4 hours. Like these were hour-long tattoos. And it's like, all right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. I had 2 setups set up, like while I was tattooing one. Another one was being set up. So as soon as I finished, like they were all tattooers, so they all had their stencils on. So I was just like boom, 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 boom. Like that was the craziest shit. And they're taking the drapes down. They're taking all the convention banners down. They got
all around you. Okay.
I'm literally the last person. And they got like, trucks in there, and like all the music is gone. It was such a weird scenario. And I'm just like,
I've been there. Have you seen I mean, to me, they're iconic. Some pictures. Did you take any photos of you doing that?
I don't think so. There was nobody to take photos. Like I was
right on. That's the worst of it.
Literally the last person there.
Like someone needs to capture this. I've seen several of Tyrell of Bob. The whole show broke down around him, and him having the biggest tattoo booth you've ever seen. Like was that 20,000 square feet tattoo floor there you got?
He's got a headlamp on, and like the lights are off, and he's still going at it.
Oh, I just got a nice fucking light too, chargeable. I'm excited now. They cut the power on us. We can keep going.
Yep. That was something.
What you had the power cut on you?
Oh yeah. I remember those days. I remember like they would have like one of the first conventions I did, I was getting tattooed as one of the people, which is also a very shitty fucking experience. Like if you're the last person to get tattooed.
Yeah.
But like, you know, they were bringing security by and being like, all right, guys, we got to wrap it up. We're going to close it down. And like, I was young, so I didn't really know. And the tattooer was like, yeah, we got 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes, you know.
Yeah, I know what 10 minutes means from a
Yeah,
tattoo
like
artist.
2 hours. And he was just like, all right. And then the more times that they would make the loop around to tell us to wrap it up, the more people they were bringing with us. And then by the end of it, there was like at least like 6, you know, staff members being like, all right, well, we're turning the lights off. And boom, boom, boom. That's when we wrapped it up. Is that they cut the power, and we're like, all right, well, I guess we're done. So we didn't even have like fucking flashlights on our phone then.
Right.
Like this was like, oh, a good fucking
Pre all that.
ago. And
You
so
guys,
like
we were using incandescent bulbs when we were still coming to the shows back then.
Yeah, bro. It was fucking nuts.
I've had them do it at a couple. One of them, they shut down just abruptly. Like the owner just started running through and being like, it's done. It's done. Fuck yeah, we're done. Go the fuck home. No one likes you. Like, what the fuck? Like it was like 7, 8 o'clock on Sunday. And they were just like, nope, boy. Done. You guys have 1 hour to be out. Like,
wow.
What? Trying to remember, there was another one that I was at a tattoo convention. Joshua Carlton actually ended up tattooing me there. It was in Ohio at the like O'Hare Arena. I think Soulja Boy was putting on a rap concert next door, and a tornado blew through and took the roof off of the whole event. And so like Soulja Boy blew the roof off, or else we did. But it was a small tattoo show. I'm gonna say Soulja Boy blew the roof off. And then it was a buddy of mine was doing a portrait of Lyle Tuttle on one of his tattoo artist friends' hands as the roof starts coming off in pieces. He's like in the middle, you know? Like, oh yeah, this is easy. This is great. Take my Spalding and Rogers power supply back to the hotel. Try and set all this stuff up again. You know, back when it was hard. It's kids today. I mean, like, everybody's like, man, they come along. So like, honestly, the technology of tattoos has come along, and the lack of ignorance. Like there's so much knowledge about your machine, your ink, your needles. You can find it. And you can
absolutely.
Learn it.
Bro, I remember the old days of like I had to like talk to fucking Paco Rollins on the telephone just to get a liner and a shader, you know what I mean?
Right. That ran the way you wanted it.
A long conversation. It wasn't anything about tattooing. It was like, you know, about art and things like that. And then finally toward the end, he'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and check you off in the book that you're cool. So what do you want? Like now you just.
How awesome is that? You had to get checked off as cool before you got a machine from Paco Rollins. I mean, Rollins. It makes sense.
And like everyone had those, you know what I mean? Like they all had the same experience. And now it's just like you said, it's like that was information that you had to know somebody that would give you the phone number.
Could even.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's like, all right, you just go online and you can get the fucking cream of the crop, you know, delivered right to your door, which is, you know, cool in some aspects, but like a lot of that nostalgia of like knowing who to talk to get the things that you wanted, like that's all been kind of pushed to the wayside. It's like you'd be lucky to get a fucking cam machine, you know what I mean? Like find that fucking book in the stack of catalogs at the tattoo shop and spend $50 on a cam machine, but then you're like, I need better gear, I need better equipment.
That cam machine.
Yeah, dude, if you don't know somebody that builds that shit, like good luck.
Yeah. If you know anything about them too, like to me, I remember about those machines is you could tell that they were honestly put together by a kid that he had 2 or 3 fingers left from already fucking up on the job, you know? And he's like 7, 8 years old. You feel bad about having it in your hand because you're like all the misery and suffering for me to have this cheap tattoo machine. It was tuned like the back spring would be the thickest back spring ever with the most back pressure ever possible. And then it would have a hard front spring too. So it would even it out and then a really small gap. So you're just like, no, it runs. It will always run. It won't run good.
No,
won't do what you want, but you know, it will run.
I mean, that's tattoo machines in general back in the day. It's like, they'll run great for like, you know, 6 hours, and then the rest of the time of owning that machine is just tinkering with it, trying to get it back to that blissful 6-hour tattoo that you did.
Yes. Yeah, I have a spot on my leg where in frustration I just started to run because you tune up your machine back then and then you really never know, right? Until you pull it back up. And almost by that time you might have forgot how you tuned it back up, like how did I soften the front spring? Did I lengthen it? What did I, and then you do your tattoo and you're like, so I actually have a spot on my leg. I can see it right now where I ran several bits of ink just in small, like, is that good? Is that like a gray shader? This is back when I was trying to figure out how Tom Renshaw did such awesome portraits and thought that it had to be in the wand that he was using. If I had that Mickey Sharps, a heavy ass Mickey Sharps, I set it up to run like he did, then for sure that would be all of everything's done, right?
Yep.
But,
that's where the magic is.
Not the way. I've learned a lot
No,
since
you
then.
probably just breathed on it a little too hard and suddenly you had to start from ground zero.
Yeah, those things, it was tricky. Just the positioning of your rubber band. He would have his contact screw so barely touching his front spring that if you put your rubber band and had it going down at all, that would draw away and it would never hit. And that was actually, if you watch Tom Renshaw tattoo back in the day, he would shake his machine before it would start. So he'd step on his foot pedal and then shake his machine to get the armature bar to start going. Because it was that soft.
I remember having machines that like it wouldn't start, and so you kind of had to flick that fucking like that back spring, that armature bar just to get it going. I totally forgot.
Yeah. Was that from a pitted front spring where it was welding itself to? We are really talking some geeky shit right now. This is for tattoo artists only. You guys, if you want to skip ahead, if you're the soccer around here for the ink master, you might want to skip ahead a little. Yeah, it was usually from a pitted front spring, right? The shit's welding itself together.
Sure, dude. I'm pretty sure my issues were just from trying to figure it out. That it was either like a capacitor that was just about to fucking burn out, or just me tinkering so much that a lot of times it was like the fucking rubber band just melting to the contact screw.
Have you ever popped a capacitor while tattooing?
Oh yeah.
Explain the beautiful. I mean, that's a pop, dude. That thing goes off, right? You thought you got shot.
I remember like not really understanding like the whole relationship between it, and like that capacitor is just about to burn out and there's like a little short, and then like every now and again I started getting wise to it, but I didn't figure it out first that like I'd be tattooing somebody like, fuck dude, that hurts. I'm like, well yeah, it's a tattoo. It's like, no, it's like literally electrocuting me. It is literally shocking me.
You weren't feeling it yourself. It was shocking.
No, bro. That's right when we had like the bigger grips, like we were starting to come out with those rubber fucking disposable.
Yeah, the Gorilla Grips, the dildos with a hole in them.
So I was perfectly grounded, but I'd be tattooing these guys and they'd be like, ah, and I'm like, yeah, I know it hurts. And they're like, no, I'm getting 3rd-degree burns over here.
Nah, you're fine, man. What are you talking about?
This is just
then pop. That thing popped on you like a firecracker, no?
Yeah, it'd be like.
I had one, and I was always good about bagging my machines. One of the best things about me I did so many mistakes coming up as a scratcher, and then eventually getting a job at a shop, never having a mentor, all this. I so many mistakes. But one thing I always did that I'm proud of was I was, tried to keep up on my cleanliness. And so I was one of the few people that bagged my machine with a plastic baggie. So I'm tattooing, and that thing popped, and it was inside of the plastic baggie. And this smoke was stuck in there. It just looked like I was holding a smoking, and then it started kind of like slowly whopped out. I could make smoke rings with it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Scary thing. I thought, like, especially with the smoke, I'm just like, and it's kind of loud. It was right in my ear. So my ears are ringing. I'm like, did we get attacked or some shit? Like, is the Cold War popping off?
Nah, bro. That's just your tats, bro. Your tats are so good. They're
explosive.
They're explosive and smoking, man.
Yeah, Joe Kaplan machine, East Coast Joe. Anyway, at this point that I'm doing this nostalgia, I probably should wrap it up, brother. I appreciate you spending your time with me.
Right on.
I like to end this by putting myself on the hot seat a little. Is there any question that you would have for me that would do that?
Well, let's see. I don't really have a question, but I always do enjoy when I get to see you because it happens every fucking time that I am at a show with you that I'll run into somebody and the first thing out of their mouth is like it'll be Ink Master related and they'll be like, "Hey, do you know that Kyle Dunbar?" And I'm like, yeah. I know I know that Kyle Dunbar. Every fucking show. It's always the same. It's like, "Oh, wow. You're on Ink Master. Hey, do you know Kyle Dunbar?"
I love it. I mean, it's different for all of us. I was one of the ones really blessed, in that they tried to turn the heat up, and even that I responded, I guess, the way I did. Sometimes I think I would rather not, but in the end, just like you say, this isn't about money. I mean, 100,000 would have really helped me save the Brady farm, the Brady Bunch farm, or the Civic Center, whatever we were saving it for. But in the long run, because of that animosity and whatever, everybody kind of they remember two things from my era of tattooing. That's Mystical Mike and me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still trying to work on Mystical to own that shit.
Oh man, he gave us some of the best fucking content, and
he was there for 3 episodes, and he's easily as remembered as me from 2 seasons and a fight with a judge.
Yeah, own it, brother. If you're listening to that, like fucking, no one's gonna forget. So like, and that's what we want.
You know what I see for his banner?
What's
I see him like kind of in Jesus Christ robes, right? Simple outline, mostly, simple shading, maybe. You could actually color it however, but you see him, Jesus Christ robes, kind of looking up in some of those images, like we see Jesus do, where he's like, "Hey, Heavenly Father," or whatever. But he's looking up at a tattoo machine that is floating miraculously above his head. And it has emanating, tattoo style light coming out of it. And it says, "I only need one."
Yes.
Right.
Which
he's
is
like, "No."
hilarious because like now I wonder how many machines does he bring with him?
But how many does anybody bring? Like at this point,
really, we only need one now.
Yes. And when we get there, if it broke, we used to keep a backup. You would need 2 or 3 backups. You would need a backup of every machine you had.
Machines all the time, and now I'm just wondering if he like sits in his booth being like literally like under his breath, just being like, "You really do only need one."
Yeah. Yes.
I knew it before the rest of you.
I'm ahead of the curve, motherfuckers.
That's
and
right.
you know what? The machine he was using was a Hawk.
Yeah.
So it was more in that day. He was actually, I think he made a little bit of a mistake and just kind of stuck with it because it was already on celluloid, But he meant to say I only used a 7 mag. He didn't use any other needles, which honestly, though, is a mistake if you got a Hawk, anyways.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have a Hawk if you're only going to use a 7 mag? I mean, again, too nerdy for some people listening, perhaps, but it's a type of tattoo machine you can change cartridges with. So. And
the whole point is the one machine that does all of it. So
yeah.
if you're just going to use one kind of grouping in one machine, then
I think there's another one he could do, which would be him laying down on the ground and with his arms and feet kind of out. You see it from the side, and it looks like he's doing a cock push-up, and then it could also say, "You only need one."
Okay. All right.
No. All right. We start talking about cock push-ups. I know that this might be drawing towards end. Brother, I want to really thank you for being a part of this and helping me rape the thing that they've given me yet again. This Ink Master thing must go on forever because I'm having way too much fun in my bedroom.
And it will. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Thank you so much. Especially, it's not often that you get to talk to somebody that just fucking gets it. So that's on every level. I fucking love it.
Well, that's why we do these conventions as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you go there and you're like, I feel so out of place when I go to get my tires changed, my oil. I go to the Home Depot or the fucking Walmart and I feel like everybody looking at me, something. I don't know. I just never felt comfortable. I went to my first tattoo convention and I was like, look at all these fucking freaks. No one is looking at me.
My people.
There's no way I'm the one standing out of this crowd. Anywhere I go, right? I can be like back into the side, kind of like the nice anonymity you can feel in New York City where you're just like, nope, no one cares. You know,
Absolutely.
like and you could be naked, you know, playing a guitar in the middle of Times Square. That's the thing that you do, and
That's
yeah, no one cares.
normal. That's a
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Same thing. Well, at any rate, dude, I love you. Thanks for being a part of this. I look forward
Thanks
to seeing
so
you on
much.
the road again. Let's
Absolutely.
hit up a couple of things though. Number one, your armrest. Where will
yeah.
the next tattoo convention you'll be selling these at be?
I believe on the books right now we'll be doing Flower City in Rochester,
Oh,
New
I will
York.
see you there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
Ghost in Darkness put that on, right?
Yeah,
Fucking love those guys.
I love it.
So
I'm excited about that.
and then after that, any others you got planned?
I'm I'm starting to make my schedule for next year. Looks like I might be doing Puerto Rico, and then it might be starting the whole circuit again in January. However, if you're looking for them, you can go on to Instagram, the Pack Rat. You can always hit us up there, and also True Tube Tattoo Supply. True Tattoo Supply also carry the Pack Rat.
So that's Derb Morrison's supply companies carrying them now, huh? That's awesome. And you putting them in any other supply companies? You guys got an exclusivity?
We are just we're working on the brand, brother. You were talking about distribution, and I feel like we kind of hit the gold mine with presenting a quality product to Derb, and Derb, agreeing that it would work. So
yeah, I think he's a good judge on things like that as well, because of the position that he's held in every realm of tattooing and supplies.
Absolutely, I would agree. So you can find him there. But
Pack Rat. Are you making more? What are you going to save my life with next? What are you making more of anything for Pack Rat there?
You guys just got to keep watching. Like I got a lot of plans. Me and my brother, my co-partner, my business partner, we got some big ideas, but we're going to be releasing those probably in the next year. So just keep an eye out. It's going to blow your mind.
Blow my mind. I can't wait till it's blown. We'll talk to you soon, Jake. Take care, brother.
Bye.